Hey, Andre, what Ford truck is better than an FX4, but not as good as a Tremor or a Raptor?
It could be a... I don't know.
Up there.
Oh, the new Rattler.
Yes, the new Rattler. Hey, guys. Welcome to this episode of TFL Talking Trucks. And we are, of course, talking trucks. Today it's me and Andre. And Ford just dropped, however you want to say it, a brand new off-road truck. And so we thought we would use this news as a jumping off point to discuss all of the best and worst and coolest, mediocre off-road trucks out there.
Yeah.
So before we get going on that, Andre, why don't let these guys know that we just refurbished, reinvented our new TFL-studios.com page.
It's been jazzed up.
It's been jazzed up, yeah. It's really cool now. Now there's one-stop shopping for all TFL content, whether it's TikToks or podcasts or news stories or videos. It looks really good. Alex did a hell of a good job on it. And if you guys are looking for all of our content, because we do have 8 YouTube channels, 2 podcasts, 4 websites, and of course the TikTok page.
Uh-huh.
Oh, there it is. Look at that. That looks so much better than the old one.
Very jazzy.
Yeah, the old one looked like a kindergarten version of that. Because, we get a lot of emails from you guys saying, hey, why don't you
Did you hear about the new Rattler?
Yeah, or why don't you drag race the 3 heavy-duty trucks, which we just did? And we're like, yeah, we just did it over at TFL Truck. And that's not your fault. I mean, there's just a lot of YouTube channels and news outlets. So we thought it would be important to have one place where all that stuff's at. And there it is. And it looks so much better now.
Yes, before we get into the F-150 Rattler.
Yeah, we keep putting it off.
I also want to thank our Patreon supporters, because that's always huge. Within the last 4 days, we had 2 people come and join us and donate and support us. Mark Bartinsky and Harold Combs. Thank you for your donations, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Without our Patreon supporters, we probably couldn't do this podcast because, let's face it, this is making negative revenue, Andre. It's costing us money, which is okay. That's fine.
That's fine. But also the patreon.com/TFL car is where when you support us, you can ask us questions and we're right there. We can help you.
Yeah, I like this podcast format because it lets us get up close and personal with, the subject matter and hopefully with our readers, viewers, and listeners, because, this is a much more personal way to communicate. I feel like I'm talking to people when they're, driving to work or on their run or, listening before you go to bed. And if you're falling asleep, good for you. All the stuff happening in the world.
Sweet dreams.
Yeah, all that stuff's happening in the world. Hopefully, Andre's soothing voice will lullaby you to bed. All right, let's get to the main topic, the F-150 Rattler. Interesting name, huh?
Yeah, do you like it?
Yeah, I think I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I can already see the commercials. You can already see the snake and the truck coming down in Moab, and then there's a rattlesnake, and then there's a voiceover artist saying,
"The new Rattler is here."
with danger just around the corner. In an uncomfortable and unrelenting world, yes. There's only one truck that will allow you to tow your boat to the dam. The new Ford F-150 Rattler.
There you go. Well, I knew it because we have rattlesnakes in the area, right? Colorado has rattlesnakes. But let us know what you think about the name. Do you love it? Do you find it interesting, funny, or whatever?
Yeah, so let's talk about the Ford lineup of off-road trucks and kind of where it fits into the hierarchy. So obviously there's a standard F-150 work truck, right? 2-wheel drive.
Yeah.
We're not talking about powertrains now. Forget the powertrains. We're talking about off-road. So that one isn't very off-roady. Then you can move up to a standard 4x4.
Yes, which gives you just that, 4-wheel drive.
And then once upon a time, if you wanted the off-roady one, you'd get the FX4.
Which is actually what I did.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
With my 2021 F-150, I got the FX4 package.
Yes, which gets you what? Skid plates, a little bit of a
rear locker.
Still
4-wheel drive, right?
Yeah. A leveling kit, maybe not a lift.
No. Did you see the rake on my truck?
Really? No.
There's no leveling to speak of.
Right.
And then it gives you a couple of drive modes, right? There's a normal modes, of course, eco mode, towing mode, but they also added, for example, rock crawl mode. There's hill descent control. and a decal on the side that says FX4.
And then before the Rattler, we're gonna put it in its rightful place in the Ford lineup in a second, but we want to establish the lineup so that you know where it kind of fits. Before the Rattler, of course, the next trim level up from there would have been the Tremor.
Which is just a recent addition, too.
Yeah, right. It was like a year or 2 years ago, maybe?
No, just this year, 2021, really a few months ago, that they introduced the new F-150 Tremor, and it followed the Ranger Tremor that was there before. And the Tremor takes it, I would say, much further in capability.
Yeah, so what do you get when you go from an FX4 to a Tremor?
So, first of all, larger tires, different suspension tuning in the Tremor. Then you have an optional front Torsen limited slip.
Yep.
So you still have the rear locker, but now you have a little bit more help up front. You have, of course, styling, different hood, different some of the other elements. For example, dual exhaust system, right? But it's only available with that one engine. We'll talk about that later.
I took one to Moab. It was
which
pretty
is
cool.
the EcoBoost, right?
Yeah, I took one to Moab.
Yeah.
It was at Atomic Blue. No, it wasn't Atomic. What was the name of that blue?
Antimatter?
Antimatter Blue with those little orange highlights. That was really badass.
Yeah, and orange is their new color of off-roading
Right.
for Ford. And then you could load it up, right? So that's one of the, I think, things that Rattler is trying to address. They're trying to offer something more affordable, because if you load up a Tremor, you can be 70 grand right there or more.
And then, of course, you get to the iconic Raptor, which now takes all the Tremor stuff, and now you've got a much more Baja style truck, right? So you've got better suspension. So you're going with active Fox suspension. Is it 3.5 now? 3.5?
3.1, yeah.
3.1. You're also getting a more powerful 2.7, 3.5 liter EcoBoost.
High output.
High output, yeah.
Yeah, 450 horsepower. And you're getting wider track, right?
Yeah.
You're getting new fenders, you're getting new look, you're getting unique Raptor, of course, everything grill. Like you said, really, really trick suspension. And then the interior is different too and more luxurious.
And you get those like auxiliary switches if you want to add extra lights or
Yes.
winch or, ice cream maker, if that's your thing.
You could.
Why not? And then, of course, the top ultimate dog in the Ford lineup is the Raptor R.
Which is not here.
Which we don't know much about officially.
Yes.
Unofficially, we think it's a V8.
Unofficially, we think it's going to be a supercharged V8. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be coming this year. They
Yep.
promised it,
Yes.
even though there's other issues and component shortages. But we should learn about it this year at least. The Raptor R should crown that. Have probably the same suspension as, or maybe a little bit better suspension than the Raptor, and then that powerful engine.
So let's recap. So FX4, Tremor, Raptor R, 4 trim levels. With varying amounts of goodies, off-road goodies, and horsepower, and of course cost.
Yes.
Like I said, we don't know how much a Raptor R is going to cost, but I'm guessing it's going to be probably 100K-ish.
It's going to be close because
Yeah.
it's competing with the TRX, right?
Yeah, which is 100K-ish,
which
depending.
can be
They
100K.
raised the price. Ours was still affordable.
Ours, we got kind of a more of a basic trim on a TRX that we have, the long-term truck. That was 77 grand.
Yeah.
But now that's like the bottom.
Yeah. I think they raised it by like 10K over the course of a year.
And it's still desirable. People still
People are
want
still paying
TRXs.
over sticker at the dealer, yeah. So the question, Andre, is where does the Rattler fit in?
So it starts with the XL FX4.
Okay, so it goes above the FX4.
So it goes a little bit above the FX4, but it keeps it at the XL kind of work truck level, which I'm a fan of because my truck is an XL, as you know. My truck is a work truck. But I think, and it may be because I complained a lot about my tires.
You're gonna take credit
I
for
won't-
the Rattler, huh?
No, I'm not going to take credit. But I did complain about my tires, as you've heard me say. So these tires, they put 18-inch wheels on the Rattler. So that's how it differentiates itself from the other work truck. And then they added the all-terrain tires, which are about 32.6 inches in diameter.
What kind?
Which is almost 33. It's a BSW all-terrain.
BSW.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of BSW?
So it's kind of a tire that's available on some of the other FX4 packages, but that's how it's listed in the
So it's not
in the spec sheet.
It's not like a
so it's not a
Wrangler
Goodyear,
or it's not a BFG.
It's not like a territory tire.
Yeah.
It's an all-terrain tire, but a little bit more like maybe mass produced.
Should I Google BSW? Never heard of BSW, and that's interesting.
So the tires
I'm learning
are.
something new today.
They took the tires that are available on other trims like the XLT, the Lariat FX4 packages. They brought it down to XL. So the whole story here really is affordability.
So according to this, BSW means black sidewall.
Oh, good. So it has a black sidewall.
But what's the brand?
I don't know. Sorry, there could be multiple brands, I guess.
Okay, all right. So it's a black sidewall.
It could be multiple brands.
I'm glad I Googled it.
BSW.
Yeah.
So they didn't disclose. I guess the initial press release didn't disclose exactly what the brand of the tire was.
All right.
And I'm trying to zoom in. I tried to zoom in into this.
Here, hold on. I'm gonna leave my chair here. I'm gonna try to take a closer look.
Can you?
It's not legible. Not legible, dude.
So it's not, of course, a KO2. It's not like a territory tire.
Yeah.
So kind of a more aggressive tire, and this is exactly what I wanted on my work truck, because my work truck really has the Scorpions ATRs, which are okay for efficiency.
Those are Pirellis.
They're quiet. They're Pirellis. They're quiet. They're pretty efficient, and they're decent off-road. But I wanted more aggressive tires, and this Rattler apparently has that.
Yeah, they look a little bit more beefy, a little bit more Moab-worthy, shall I say. So you get better tires. What else you get?
So unique wheels, right?
Unique wheels. You get the Rattler.
Blacked out front grille, you know, and kind of so it's about a little bit about appearance, right? So it's really an FX4 truck. So it still has the skid plates, the rear locker, and of course four-wheel drive with 4-low. It has the different tires. It's available with 4 engine options, so you're not locked into a one engine or another.
And by the way, guys, if you're listening to this as a podcast and you want to see what it looks like, just head over to tfl-studios.com, where Andre just did a video basically going over all the pictures that Ford sent us. The one thing I don't like, Andre, if you go back again to that first picture we had up there, I don't like that big chinny chin. It seems like it's going to be rubbing and getting in a way of like approach angle.
So that's kind of what the FX4 comes with. If you don't want the chinny chin.
I'm talking about the spoiler that hangs down below.
Go for the Tremor. The Tremor is the one where you have that aluminum skid plate, you know, kind of out there, and a better approach. I'm
going to ask this anyway, but I suspect I know the answer already. Did they announce pricing?
No.
Yeah.
So, but they talked about value.
Okay.
They talked about value. This truck, the Rattler, is going to be available in the fall of this year, they said, 2022. So I'm guessing, I have some guesses on price. Because if you were to configure a crew cab short bed, kind of a basic 2.7 liter V6 powered F-150, you're going to be in around like 45 grand.
Yep.
So I imagine this package adds $1,000 to it, maybe a little bit more. So I think you're in the mid to upper 40s.
So do you remember not that long ago, Ram lent us the Backcountry for a couple months?
Of course I remember, yes.
Right? So that was Ram's kind of version of this vehicle, right? I mean, if you kind of compare it, if you were to chart the off-roady bits, they were very similar. The rear locker, more aggressive tires. I kind of feel like this is the ideal hunting truck. That's my kind of gut on this. Wouldn't you say? I mean, it feels like it's designed to be not, it's an XL, right? So it's not too luxurious inside. So if you're going to get, bloody, whatever you're hunting, you're seriously, right?
Yeah.
It's an issue. You're not going to get a truck that's like, a King Ranch, and all leathery, full of crud. And so I kind of feel like Andre just put up the Backcountry.
Yeah, the red truck.
Yeah. I kind of feel like that this is where this kind of fits in, right? The manufacturers don't allow usually a lot of white space in terms of having one manufacturer be in a segment where the other one isn't. Just guessing.
Totally. And I think so, and it's an interesting thing. If you wanted to be critical, right? you would say, well, they could have done this years ago, right? Because you're basically shifting options, right? You're taking a tire that was available on some other F-150 model, you're putting it here, you're adding some blacked out components, right? So you could have done it before, but they didn't for whatever reason, and now they're offering those choices. I agree. Ram 1500 Backcountry is a direct competitor to this. Remember, ours was with a few options, like 55, 56 grand.
It ain't cheap, dude. No trucks are nowadays.
It was supposed to be really, really great value, but it was creeping up there in price.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be like a 45-ish.
Like 47-ish or 45-ish.
And it surprised us just by how expensive it was, you know. So while we've got the Rams here, we've got the GT up versus the Backcountry. Let's talk about the Ram lineup of off-road vehicles. And I think maybe with the GT, what we can do is we can start from the top and go down.
Okay.
Go it the other way. Why not? Mix it up. Yeah, have a little bit of a little bit of difference here. So, and the reason I say that is because the GT basically takes what's in the TRX and moves it down to the
Rebel.
Yeah, to the more affordable Rebel. So, of course, the TRX is right now the top dog in the Ram lineup, 702 horsepower, right? They don't like using this word, but it's the Hellcatiest of them all.
It's got a supercharged V8.
It's got the Hellcat supercharged V8.
Yep.
Instead of Fox, we're talking Bilstein, or is it Steen? I always get those two mixed up.
Bilstein, like the mug.
Like the mug.
Pretend you have a beer mug in front of you.
3-inch active suspension, which is good. A whole bunch of different drive modes. By the way, could I tell you something I learned about the TRX, which I did not like?
What?
So we just took the TRX and it was our support truck, and we went camping on the White Room Trail.
Yes.
Which is, I think, the world's most beautiful road.
It's incredible. It's like
off-road.
Somebody drew it. A masterpiece of a road.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for anything more spectacular. And I think it's going to be the world's most crowded off-road. Because we booked our campsite 2 months ago.
And there was only one.
There was only one. And there's probably like 30 of them around the 120 miles of the White Room Trail. But we were towing, and I want to thank our friends over at Colorado Teardrops, a camper. And so every time I got in the TRX, I wanted to be in tow haul mode. And there's a little selector switch, right, which you can go left or right on. Not a rotary dial, which tells you what the modes are, but it has a display in the center stack, and it shows you what mode. But I don't know where tow haul mode is, so I would go in there and I would start punching it, and I'd be like, snow, I don't want snow, Baja, I don't want Baja, custom, I don't want custom. And then if you go into rock, it actually puts it in
it changes your mode.
It puts it into low range automatically. And so every time I went in the truck, I had to search and hunt for tow haul mode. Why it doesn't know that when you plug a trailer in, like some other trucks, is baffling to me. I mean, if there's a trailer plugged into it, it should just know automatically you're towing and hauling.
Or at least ask you, hey, do you want to continue?
And the irony of the whole thing is it knows, because there's a page in there that shows you how many hours you've towed, actually how many miles you've towed. So it does keep track of your towing, but for some reason it doesn't put you in tow haul mode. Now, this was a light trailer, right? So I don't know if it really
would have mattered.
Yeah. But there's just something very anal about like being in the right mode. And why the truck, that's another pet peeve. Why doesn't the truck just keep you in tow haul mode?
When you shut it off.
Yeah, you go to the bathroom, you go get gas, you stop for lunch. Every time, it's just a huge, pain in the butt. Oh, you know what else? I found out something else too. I've been meaning to talk to you about this for like the last month, and it just reminded me.
Okay, let's do it.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
So, I was under the impression, and I think this was some PR shenanigans going on here, Andre. And I've asked multiple manufacturers, so I'm not going to point the finger at any of our manufacturers that we work with, but I'm talking about manufacturers that build off-roaders, like Jeep, like Bronco, like Toyota, right?
Okay.
Right? Why, when you air down your tires, you just can't tell the truck that you are in like off-road mode, so you don't get the stupid TPMS either flashing at you, because it always will just, once you're aired down, right, you are well below. Let's say that
those limits.
Yeah, the Raptor, you're probably what, 40-ish?
You're probably at 40 psi.
40 psi, and then when you're off-roading, we like to go down to at least 20.
20, 25 or something like that.
Yeah, and so it happens in a Jeep. It happens in...
Well, any vehicle.
Any vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And I kept asking them. I was like, guys, why don't you just give me an off-road mode, so the vehicle knows when you're in an off-road mode that you're no longer at the designated federal, right? And they said, oh, we can't do that. It's impossible because this is federal regulation. Which, when you think about it, makes sense, right? The government doesn't want you like wasting fuel, because there's nothing worse than driving around with underinflated tires.
I think it's more than just fuel, right? Because the tire is becoming squishy. Right. The tire is squishier. It's the patch that's contacting the ground is wider.
Yeah.
Right. And then imagine if you're going 70 on the highway and you're trying to go into a high-speed turn, the tire rolls over a little bit. It can be very dangerous, right? So that's why they require the tire pressure monitor to be there. But I agree with you. Why not have it a certain mode? Right?
Yeah, well,
speed limited.
Yeah, when you go into off-road mode, then
speed limited or something.
Well, not even that. I mean, it just knows that you're in an off-road mode. You're not on road, and then the tire pressure, because it's so annoying to see that thing, right? Because it takes over the whole screen. In some places, it beeps at you. Sometimes it flashes at you. There's different systems, and they're all just super annoying. Throws up a warning. So, and I've asked multiple manufacturers, and they've always said, oh, no, it's a federal regulation. There's no way around it. So I'm like, okay, I bought it. I didn't question it. Okay, it makes sense. I can see that. So get this, Andre. I am with Porsche.
Okay.
Which, would you agree that Porsche probably has to subscribe to the same rules as everybody else?
Absolutely.
Right?
They sell cars in the United States.
Yeah, they don't have an exemption, right? There's no exemption for a sports car manufacturer. And I'm driving the brand new GT4 RS, which is like the top dog Cayman, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be like one of these cars that's going to be highly collectible. People are already paying $50,000 over just for an allocation, yada, yada, yada. They basically took the 911. Sorry, all you truck guys, if this is I apologize. But
I am jealous that you drove it. I'm very jealous.
But I figure some of you understand what I'm talking about. They took the 911 GT3 engine and stuck it in a Cayman, which Porsche didn't want to do for a long time because then they're competing with itself. But anyway, that's all for a car podcast. But get this, you know what happens when you're on a track?
What happens? You go in the race mode.
Right. But what happens with tire pressure when you're on the track?
Well, it always goes up and up and up because you're warming up your tires, right?
Exactly, yeah. Okay. The tire pressure goes very high because what happens is the tires get very hot, and then it's like if you have your TPMS come on and you start driving and it goes away because as the tire warms up, the air inside warms up, and when air warms up, it expands, and so the pressure increases, right?
Yes.
And so Porsche has to, on the track day, actually take the tire pressure down significantly. Right, that's what you do in a race car.
So that it's normal when you're racing,
right,
driving,
right.
Okay.
And so we're lapping around, and I'm like, talking to the guys, and they notice that they're always measuring tire pressure. I'm like, what is this? And it's significantly lower. I want to say it's like 10, 15 psi lower in a race car. And then I'm like, well, how come you don't get the TPMS? Why? If it's that lower, I mean, eventually it'll come up, right? Mm-hmm. But still, when the tire cools down, and they're like, oh, no. What we've done is we've engineered a race mode, and when you put it into race mode, it understands that the tires are like 20 psi less. I'm paraphrasing, but basically. I'm like
beautiful.
I'm like, that's what I want for the off-roader. I'm like, oh yeah. It knows automatically that you've deflated the tires because you're on a track, and so it doesn't give you the TPMS warning. So apparently, either Porsche is playing by different rules than every other manufacturer, or the manufacturers that are telling me that they can't do an off-road mode somehow are giving me a PR shenanigan answer.
So a couple things.
Yeah.
First of all, the car may know famous racetracks. Like our Soul DL. Sometimes they know by GPS where you are, right?
Yeah, but that they said when you put in track mode, that's what it does.
Okay, so you can technically do it downtown.
You could, yeah.
Well, let's say you wanted to show off, you put it in track mode anywhere.
You could, which I guess what you could do is, let's say your tires were underinflated and you get the TPMS. If you put it in track mode, it would get rid of that.
Yeah, which is interesting. But here's what I heard from several different manufacturers and just kind of going to events, is that everybody has the same requirements, right? The law is one way.
Yeah, sure.
And then you interpret the law.
Oh.
Okay. So, for example, I'll give you two examples. We just recently drove the Rivian R1T, right? When you put it in reverse, what happens? It just hums, right? And it backs up.
Right.
It's generating this kind of humming noise and it backs up. And then you put it in drive and you drive away. What happens when I put my F-150 hybrid in reverse?
I don't know. What happens?
It beeps like a garbage truck.
Beep, beep, beep. Yeah.
So
our skid steer did that.
Yes, exactly.
And I unplugged it.
You can unplug it?
Yeah, you just open the back and there's the little wire and you just unplug it.
Okay, so they're both playing by the same rules, right?
Yes, not the skid steer.
So not the skid steer. The skid steer is playing by some other rules.
Yeah, exactly.
But Rivian, for example, and the Hummer, and other electrified vehicles are playing by the same rules. So why did Ford choose to add a beeper to the back of this truck?
To annoy that out of their customers?
Yeah, and it's not just on the work truck.
Probably not to get sued.
It's just not on the work truck.
Like you're saying, some attorney probably interpreted that in a very not narrow but broad sense.
But legal way.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe Porsche interpreted that regulation in this way, and the off-road guys are not interpreting that in this way.
It's a possibility.
It's a good question.
It's a good question.
I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of it. But you know what would solve all of this?
Get rid of the central government.
No, let's not overthrow the government.
that would get rid of it.
No, central
I don't think
tire inflation.
I don't think tanks have tire pressure monitoring. I don't think they give a rat's.
Wow. No, central tire inflation system like on a military truck.
Yeah.
Just raise it up and lower it yourself.
How much do you think those cost?
A lot.
A lot, yeah.
A lot.
A lot, yeah, I know.
I was talking to one of the engineers in an off-road truck program, and I was like, well, so what's the next barrier, right? You have active suspension, right? You have giant tires now. You have all these drive modes, and the truck knows when you're in the air, and it stiffens the suspension and all this stuff. What's the next level? And I'm like, why don't you do central tire inflation?
Yeah,
and they're like, well, it's kind of complicated. I'm like, I know it's complicated.
You know what, Andre? You are 100% right. I think of like all of the new companies out there, like Rivian and Tesla, that have just taken the rule book and have just thrown it away and decided, hey, let's do a tunnel behind the second row seat and make it a storage tunnel.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? Why do we need, that space to be empty? And I agree, Andre. It's like Ford broke the mold when they finally came out with your truck's onboard generator. That should have been like falling off of a tree 20 years ago.
An apple hitting you in the forehead.
Yeah, that's just such a useful and smart, right? And why didn't anybody else but Ford do it?
I don't know. And they just did it a year ago.
Yeah.
7.2 kilowatts of power right there.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, why didn't somebody go there earlier? Same thing with the Rivian tunnel. Why didn't somewhere? I was just listening to once again Tim's podcast, and he actually made Actually, I don't know if it was him or if it was Steve. Steve was on his podcast. Actually, Steve made this. Our old TFL Steve Elmer made this point, and he's absolutely right about this. Why isn't a truck manufacturer, specifically Ram, building a plug-in hybrid? That would seem. Why do they take the plug-in hybrid and put it in the Jeep, but not in the Ram? It seems to me in a truck, you've got the best of both worlds that way. You got the torque of the electric motor, which you need for towing, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't have the downside of having to recharge it because you can just fill it up with fuel. I mean, if there's any vehicle that a plug-in hybrid makes sense, plus you have all this room, right? There's no question about where to store batteries, right? You're not adding huge amounts of weight for a truck chassis, which you would be doing for a car chassis. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't penalize the truck. Why isn't anybody doing a plug-in hybrid?
I have one answer.
Expense?
No. I don't think it's. I mean, of course, it's expensive, but I think one answer is let's take a look at the new Tundra hybrid. Right, it's not a plug-in, right?
Yeah,
it is a hybrid.
Toyota doesn't do plug-in hybrids; they barely do them.
Well, they have Primes, RAV4 Primes. It's a wonderful plug-in hybrid system.
They have a RAV4 Prime and a Prius Prime, and I felt like they did that because they were forced to, not because they wanted to.
So, if you look at the Tundra hybrid, it's already getting heavy. I think it's the weight is the problem. So the Tundra hybrid weighs like 6,200 pounds, so it doesn't have a lot of payload. Yes, it tows a lot.
2 words, Andre. Hummer
Yes.
EV.
That's insanely heavy.
But you see what I'm saying? I mean, you're saying it's getting heavy. How about 9,200 pounds of battery, powered truck? Why did you skip right to that? Why didn't you just go to like
a
7,000 pound plug-in hybrid or whatever the heck it would be, 7,500, and then you would also solve this towing problem, because let's face it. The Silverado EV, the Ford Lightning, the Hummer EV, the Rivian, they're all going to be a pain in the ass to tow. Right now, the infrastructure for towing with electric vehicles does not exist. Right, unless you enjoy pissing off other people by blocking all of the charging ports. And so Electrify America just recently announced that they're going to start doing like pull-through ones, but that's that is years
in the future.
Yeah, so a plug-in hybrid would also solve like the biggest problem with electric trucks, and they skipped that. And if anybody shouldn't have skipped it, it'd be either Toyota or Ram. They could have just done it.
Because Ram already has a solution. I mean, Jeep does.
Yeah, I know. They do,
yeah. And by the way, the Gladiator doesn't have a plug-in yet.
Yeah.
Why not? So I think it also may have to do with classifications of trucks. But once again, that's the rule book that can be broken.
So let's go all the way back to what you started with, and that is onboard air, basically, right?
Yeah, onboard air.
Yeah, which would be a great...
Which is like the next step, right, in off-road capability.
And the military's been doing it forever. It's not like, that technology is not 1999, right?
It costs money, but it's there.
It's been around for a long time, and how cool would that be? And how you can tell that they have it right. They have that air tube that goes down
into the hub.
The hub, yeah. Imagine like a truck or a Jeep or a Bronco with that, or hey, imagine it would look so badass and so cool, right, to see that. And knowing that the truck itself or the off-roader,
is capable of that,
and then
right?
basically what that would allow you to do is just in the cab flick a switch and go to 20 or wherever you want.
Or go back to 40.
Yeah,
at a flip of a button.
And from like a fuel economy standpoint, you would never have underinflated tires
or overinflated tires,
unless you did it on purpose. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know, Andre. I think the problem is like until somebody goes and does something unusual, all the other manufacturers just let the bean counters decide, right? So, for the longest time, tailgates were just like, flop open,
bang,
flop closed. and then
somebody decided, oh, wait.
Hey, what if we put a ladder into one of these things, right? And then GM went, oh, my God, they put a ladder into it. Now we have to do something. And then Ram said, oh, my God, let's
do a barn door.
Let's do a barn door, yeah. Yeah, because it takes one manufacturer to do that, and all of a sudden, all the creativity and innovation, break out among the others. So until somebody does it, it's just going to be another one of those, moments when somebody finally does do it.
So let's start. I mean, we didn't quite get there. So TRX,
yes,
right?
Now going down. So you got the GT here,
Rebel GT,
and so the Rebel GT got the TRX shifter.
Yep.
Right. I think the paddle shifters.
Yeah, paddle shifters, a console transmission shifter. And
got rid of that stupid dial, and now you have proper,
some luxury features.
Yeah.
It also got, I believe, a heads-up display. You can have it now, so it's kind of a more luxurious Rebel in a way, right? A little bit more sporty.
So really, with Ram, you've got the TRX, you've got the Rebel GT, you've got the Rebel, you've got the Backcountry,
and then the off-road package right below the Backcountry. They call it off-road.
Off-road, yeah, the off-road, yeah.
Yeah, which is very simple.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is very simple name. It's not the Rattler. It's nothing like that. It's simply called off-road.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So, I mean, but still a few gradations in there, right? And actually, you know what? Rebel kind of pushed, it came out in 2019. I think it pushed Ford and GM. After the Rebel came out, the Trail Boss came out, right? Yep. So it kind of pushed the competitors. And then after Trail Boss came out, the F-150 Tremor came out.
All right, so speaking of the Trail Boss, let's talk about GM trucks.
Yes.
Well, let's leave the ZR2 to the end because that's coming very soon.
Yes.
So let's start at the bottom. So you've got your basic, same like Ford, right? You've got your basic two-wheel drive truck. Then you got your basic four-wheel drive truck. And then for all of you GM fans, you know that GM loves their opaque order codes, right? Nobody understands them. It's like they just take 3 letters, number combination.
You were just telling me about the GMC X31,
Well, I know,
right?
it makes no sense. Just take 3. It's like like it feels like almost like a code that the World War II military would have understood, right?
Yes, I have an X31. X31.
So ZR1, right?
Where are you at? Are you in the Chevy land?
Where am I at? I'm at Z06.
No, we're not talking Corvettes.
Z7. See what I mean? That's what I mean. It's so confusing. Z06, ZR1, ZR2, Z06.
Let's not talk about Z06. Okay.
Let's not talk about Z06.
Okay. So do you want to start with the ZR2, the new truck that Silverado has?
Let's start with the ZR2. Might as well. That's the highest. It's not even a Raptor fighter or a TRX fighter because under the hood is just a 6.2. I'd say just, but it's still just.
But it's not supercharged, right? It's not at the same power level
Yeah.
as some of the others. 420 horsepower, and they have, of course, slightly wider track. Their DSSV Multimatic dampers, the shocks, they're fancy shocks. But
are they different from like the DSSVs in the Colorado?
The size is different.
Okay,
but the technology is the same.
Okay.
Yeah, basically they have to support heavier weight, obviously, bigger truck than the Colorado. Technology is the same, the size and the kind of the components are different. But this truck should have been out years ago.
Yeah.
Why is it coming just now?
So what does this compete with in the other brands? Where would you put it with like against the Ford?
Like Rebel GT.
Yeah,
right?
It's not a Raptor fighter because it doesn't have enough power.
No, or kind of the same, the suspension travel is not quite up there with the TRX and the Raptor.
Look, the good news is you've got the 6.2. I'm sure superchargers are available for it. So if you want the ultimate off-roader and you don't want to go through like Hennessy or one of the other, shops that actually does this aftermarket. And let's talk about that. We get a lot of emails from people who kind of misinterpret what we're doing here. And what I mean by that is people think that like a Hennessy, what's the crazy one called? The six-wheel drive, Velociraptor,
right? 6x6,
or a Shelby
Super Snake or something.
Yeah, like these
Shelby Baja Raptor.
Right. They think that these are vehicles that are in this world and that they compete in this world, but we don't consider those because they're done in the aftermarket. They're not done by the manufacturer. So there's a clear delineation. If it comes from the factory, directly from the factory, not like it goes to Shelby to Vegas and then they do their bit and then they give it to you. It has to come from the Ford factory. Then these are the trucks we're talking about. We're not talking about all of the aftermarket stuff that's out there because there's a lot of it out there.
Yeah, and some of the lines are getting blurrier and blurrier, like
the Bison.
Yeah, the Bison, which is kind of an aftermarket, which is also approved.
But I would consider the Bison, so the Bison is AV, obviously, Colorado, and I would consider that a manufacturer vehicle because
it comes from
the factory.
Your Chevy dealer.
Yeah,
right
so
there.
So the difference there is that AEV manufactures the parts, but then Chevy
puts them on,
and
they co-develop them, right?
Yeah,
they develop them together.
It's like before AMG was part of Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
And now they're one.
Yeah. Or recently Alpina was bought by BMW. Same kind of deal. But anyway, so this is the top of the line Chevy. So please don't write or comment that there's other versions of this that somebody else makes. But this is the top of the line Chevy. But you're right, it really does just compete with like a Rebel GT or maybe in the Ford lineup, I don't know, like
it's a little bit
Tremor.
It's a little bit higher than the Tremor because, and by the way, I asked several podcasts ago, I asked Nathan and also Matt, our producer editor, to create a pyramid of capability of road. And I put the ZR2 a little bit above the Tremor because this has 2 selectable lockers.
Okay.
So you have the rear locker and the front selectable locker in the ZR2.
So it's
and the Tremor does not.
So for all you Toyota fans, it would sit above in terms of its equipment, the TRD Pro.
Just above it, I would say.
And for all you Nissan fans, it would sit above the Pro 4X because none of those have lockable front diffs.
Yes. And the Tremor almost is there because it has a limited slip front, right? But this is actually has selectable, driver selectable feature, which I think is a little bit better because the driver kind of knows when that's needed and you can pre-select it and just go.
So, I mean, the best way to describe it is it's the ZR2 of the Silverado versus the ZR2 of the Colorado.
Yes. And then so below it would be the Trail Boss, right?
Yeah, which we had.
Yeah, and below that is the Z71.
Yep.
And below that is just a regular old 4x4. So they're expanding their lineup, but I think they need to do more.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, or maybe they don't. I don't know.
Well, I guess you would say the Hummer now competes with the Raptor,
that's what
right?
I was just thinking. Yeah, I mean, if they kind of leapfrogged everybody with the Hummer because, and let's talk about the Hummer, and let's talk about the Rivian, and let's talk about the Cybertruck because these are also basically off-road trucks.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I talked to the chief engineer of the Hummer, and he said GM told him, build the best, not the best electric, just the best off-roader you can. And so that one is about as off-road focused as you can be, right? You've got air suspension, 15 inches of ground clearance, a camera underneath. That's crazy.
2 camera views underneath. Yeah.
That with like blinker fluid.
That sprays your camera when you drive.
Yeah. And then you've got, of course, massive 35s from the factory.
Could be 37s.
You could go 37s if you wanted to. A Baja-style spare tire that you put in the bed. I mean, and then I'm not even
four-wheel steering.
Yeah, crab walk and WTF mode and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, that is, I think, more...
1,000 horsepower?
1,000 horsepower, more truck than like even a TRX or a Raptor R in terms of just its capability. If you were to just like do a spreadsheet and you put like horsepower versus horsepower versus horsepower,
ground
clearance versus approach, departure, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, it has all the numbers. And I actually drove it, but I cannot fully talk about it until like the 7th of April. Because it's still under embargo. You can because you went to a different event.
It's the craziest thing. I drove it at GM's Proving Ground, and then they re-embargoed the driving impressions.
Yes.
So
now hush hush.
So you're hush hush, but I'm not hush, hush.
I cannot say anything.
I loved it. I thought it was really badass. I thought it was the coolest thing. I'm not sure about crab mode. That's freaky. It's like driving on ice. It's like you turn the wheel and all 4 wheels up to 10 degrees of rear wheel steering, and so you feel like you're going sideways and forward at the same time, which the only time I ever felt that is on an ice skating rink when we were doing like tire testing. It's a little disconcerting. I don't know what that's like off-road, but you know what that's like off-road, but you can't talk about it.
No, I can't.
Because we just did it on a dirt road. The one thing I'll tell you about the Hummer is it doesn't go over obstacles as much as it crushes them.
Well, we do know it weighs over 9,000 pounds. We do know that.
Yes.
That's open. That's out there.
And then we don't know much about the Silverado EV yet because we saw it at the Chicago Auto Show.
But it's not an off-roady looking truck, right?
Let's face it.
It's a street truck.
It's like an electric Avalanche.
Yes.
I think that's fair. It's got the same setup in the back where you can lower that divider between the rear seats and the bed and extend your bed. And we know even less about even though I've ridden in it, about the Cybertruck because apparently it's changing.
Well, they're redesigning it. It's still not available. Rivian, I mean, they do have the adventure package on the Rivian, right? Which comes with all-terrain tires.
So let's talk about the Rivian.
We can talk about it.
Yeah. So here's a weird thing. Okay, this is, and I'd love to get your guys' opinion out there. I spent a lot of time thinking about the Rivian, to be honest, I thought would be the ultimate off-roader. And we took it off-road, we towed with it, we ran the Ike with it, we worked on the farm, David's farm ranch with it.
Yeah,
we did everything you could do with it. We did everything.
Range tested it.
Range tested it, drag raced it. Charge testing was the only thing we didn't do with it.
Well, Tommy did it.
Yeah.
No, Tommy went to Loveland Station and he did it.
So we did everything. But I got to tell you, it kind of left me a little cold.
Really?
Sometimes I'm like, when I see like the TRX, the first time I laid eyes on that and hands on that, I was like, I need that truck. But there was something about the Rivian where I was just like, no, doesn't do it for me.
You didn't leap on it?
What's crazy about that is it should, because it's got, I like stuff that's kind of crazy. And that is, right, 4, not Hummer has only 3, but 4 electric motors. How much horsepower?
830 or something?
830 horsepower, 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds-ish. I mean, these are
It's still crazy.
these are crazy numbers. Really great build quality, interesting design. You know, a lot of really thoughtful engineering touches from the tunnel we were talking about to that like little boom box, right? That disconnects and you can use for tailgating, to the way that the spare tire is mounted underneath the bed. Just a ton of fun. You know, get this, dude. There you go. There's the Rivian. An electronic integrated brake controller. How crazy is that?
Yeah, with a controller on the steering wheel.
On the steering with those little rotary dials, right?
Yeah, once again, they're interpreting the rule book in a different way, right?
Yeah. So, you know, all of this crazy and cool and thoughtful engineering. And when it left here, I was like, no, not really like my thing. And so for the longest time, I thought about that. I'm like, I should be in love with this truck. I should lust after it. I should really want it.
Yeah, why not?
And so finally it dawned on me, and it dawned on me when we bought that Ram 2500 Cummins.
Okay.
And I think what Rivian has done is they've kind of created a new market segment, which is different than the traditional ones. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, trucks are tools. They're the ultimate tools, right? They're kind of different in my head than cars. Cars, you know, it can be a tool when you use it to commute, but a truck is definitely a tool. It's all about hauling. It's all about towing. It's all about working. Mm-hmm. And there's this kind of way that I enjoy that by kind of like the best way I could describe it is like it's kind of like the difference between going to Home Depot, which I also love, right? That's like tools, right? Versus going to, I don't know, like Best Buy. Right, that's a whole different kind of feel, and I think what Rivian has tried to do is like combine Home Depot with Best Buy. Right?
So it's like, what if we use like a shoe analogy?
Okay.
You know, you have like a work boot, you know, with a steel toe.
Right.
Right, and it's got rugged sole, and you can use it versus like a kind of a cross hiking shoe. Is that? Do you like that analogy where it's kind of a shoe that maybe does multiple things?
Well, no, I think it's like I said, like Home Depot is where you buy your tools, and it's like all about like working, and Best Buy is all about like electronics and about play, right? It's where you go get your PlayStation. That's in my mind, right?
Yeah.
It's all about kind of fun, and it's like the car versus the truck, and Rivian has kind of tried to combine those two in a way, and to me. They've created a segment that is no longer a truck, but is a lifestyle vehicle. And I like trucks to be trucks, right? I want like the Ram we wanted to get the base one, but we got the next one up from there, so it isn't quite the base one. But I still love the fact that it's just very utilitarian, no leather. And there are people who love like King Ranch. I mean, you can get trucks that are fancy.
Sure.
But
sure.
At the bottom, they're still trucks, and they still are very trucky. And even though they're fancy tools, they're still fancy tools. They're still tools. But the Rivian to me doesn't feel like a tool anymore. It feels like something that like somebody who lives either in the city. I guess it's the difference between country and city too, right?
Sure.
It's somebody who it's kind of like somebody's idea of who doesn't use trucks as a tool thinks the truck should be. Like the ideal customer will be somebody like, yeah, we've had a Tacoma for a while, or my cousin has a Tacoma, so I want to get the electric version of that, right? It's not trucky enough. It doesn't like ring that truck bell for me. That's why I love that Cummins out there. And then the same thing with the Power Stroke or the Duramax, right?
Yeah.
I just love the fact that this is the ultimate expression. It's the biggest tool in your toolbox. Whereas this is not a tool anymore. It's something completely different.
That's interesting because the Rivian, and I don't know, I was excited.
It's too precious.
Well, maybe that's the impression, right? Maybe there's an impression. So I was really impressed by the way it towed. I mean, the handling of it, not the range. Because the range, like we talked about, the charging network is not quite there for towing.
All right, let's play this game that we've always played. The game show, right? You have just won a new truck. And the host, in this case me, takes you out to the parking lot, and there are two trucks there.
Okay, only two?
Yeah, only two.
Okay.
And there's only one caveat, one rule. And that is you have to pick one of these trucks, and you get it for free, but you have to drive it as your only vehicle for the next year. All right, so I take you to the parking lot. There's two trucks. One is a Rivian, and one is a Hummer. You've driven both of them, so you can only have one. Which one do you take?
Rivian R1T or the Hummer EV truck.
That's your. You gotta pick one. You can't like say I'm going to wait for the Lightning. You can't do that. You've driven both of them. Which one do you take? And you have to drive it for a year.
The Hummer.
Okay.
The Hummer. And without telling you everything, I would say, so the Hummer crosses another line for me, which is kind of, as a kid, as a Tonka toy.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I see the Hummer almost. Because it's huge, right? It's bigger than life in a way. And also, hey, you can remove the top on it.
It's convertible.
It's convertible. It's pretty sweet. So I would have to go with the Hummer.
Okay. Well, there you go. Hummer it is. You get to drive it for a year. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. I just won a Hummer. Oh.
No, you didn't. Theoretically. Apparently dealers are marking them up to $350,000. So.
Yeah, what is that?
What is that? What, God, in what world are you like, at a dealership and you're like, you get a Hummer.
By the way, it's not your Hummer. It's a reservation Hummer.
So either you like, hey, we got to buy that reservation from the dude, right? And
let's resell it.
And resell it. But I mean, I guess that's ultimately capitalism. But what does that do to like the trust that you've built up with your customers when you're taking a $112,000 car and then a truck? I'm sorry, that's my pet peeve. Sorry, Tom.
Truck in this case.
Truck. And by the way, Tom in Inside EVs, I was with him recently in Europe and Spain for the
Tom Malogny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I told him I hate when he calls a truck a car, and I just did the same thing.
Did that.
And then
Tom, you can write letters to Roman at TFL.
And he mentioned it in the podcast, so I apologize. But so you get this truck. I forgot where I was going. I completely forgot. Oh, you get this truck.
112.
And then you like, you know what? So we bought it from the reservation holder for $50K over, whatever you paid. It certainly wasn't. Put it out on the floor at $350. That's crazy, Andre. I mean, if I were a customer, so there's a dealership, we just got this. It's on our truck community page, right? 340 in Oklahoma. Yeah. If I were a customer, which I could be, anybody could be, and I walked into that dealership, right?
And you saw the Hummer there.
And I saw the Hummer. I'd be, holy cow. And then I looked and I saw a market adjustment of
230,000.
Yeah. I would spin around on my heels and I would walk out of that dealership. I would never look back, and I would either take a picture of it and tweet it and Facebook it and Instagram it.
Which is what somebody did.
And or if I wasn't that, tech savvy, I would tell all my friends, never, ever, ever buy a vehicle, because if they're ballsy enough, right, to do that, right, I have no clue as to what else they're doing, like in the service department. I remember in Colorado once we had a 4Runner, and I went to get it serviced, and they said, oh, you need a high altitude service. I'm like, high altitude service? This was here in Boulder.
Uh-huh.
Boulder Toyota, which has recently been sold, by the way, right? I'm like, what's a high altitude service? And they're like, oh, because we live at high altitudes, we need to do all of this stuff. Like stuff, like change the
differential fluid.
Change the blinker fluid. Do oil changes every 22 miles because you're driving up to Mount Evans. Uh-huh. Change your wipers because of the intense sun pressure, right? For $800, dude, the service, it was like a 60,000 mile, and the service called for something like $300 in the book, and these guys wanted $800 for, This is exactly now what I'm thinking when these guys are asking, because what other shenanigans are they paying back there? Mm-hmm. I would never go back there, never. I'm sorry, it's a matter, at this point, it really is a matter of trust between me and that business, and by doing that, you've completely broken that trust. So if you think you can sell it for that, go to it, but you would never see me as a customer. Even if, flip that around, because what the dealerships will say is, well, there was a long time where we were selling cars below.
And now the demand is high.
Yeah. And so
that's what they would say, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a time when Apple was selling products when demand was high and they were asking for one price, and there was a time when Apple was selling products when demand was low and they were asking one price, and they understood that the trust that they have with the customer is more important than the discount or the profit they can make at any given time. So it feels very like 1950s. What can I do to get you in this thing? It reinforces every horrible stereotype that people have of dealerships, that all they care about is instant profit and making, massive boat payments for their, nieces. That's maybe cruel, but, that's what it feels like to me. Sorry.
Yeah. And I don't know what else to say about that. But I would pick the Hummer over the Rivian.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just kind of talks to the 10-year-old in me, I guess.
So I don't want to diss the Rivian. I think it's an incredible truck. I think that what they've done is, something that is really astounding to come out of the box with a vehicle that good. It just kind of left me cold. I just was like, it's not what it's. I'm a truck guy. I like big trucks, and this just felt like it was a different breed of vehicle. Maybe that's what they were going after, right? Maybe
I think so.
Maybe they wanted to create an adventure lifestyle vehicle. The question I have, if that is indeed the case, is how are the people who now are lusting after this going to learn to live with a relatively big truck? Because it's in this weird space, right? It's bigger than a midsize, smaller than a full size, but it's still going to be, problematic if you're in the city parking it and certainly charging it. So
it's fairly large, not that it's smaller than the F-150.
So I'm wondering if you're like a Texas truck guy, if this is going to fit into your life, or if this is going to be something that you're like, oh, that's for the city guys.
I think you're in Texas, you're loving this.
Okay.
Because it's got a bed.
Well, if you're in Austin,
it's got four-wheel drive.
All right. If you're in Houston.
If you're downtown Houston, I don't know.
Plano, I don't know.
Okay.
Pick the
Dude, in Plano, there's G-Wagons everywhere.
Oh, God, that's true, yeah.
So this would fit. All
right, College Station, Andre. How about that?
College Station. I don't know.
How about San Antonio?
Okay. San Antonio maybe, because streets are smaller there, right? Streets are tight and small. Anyway, where do we go from here?
Oh, so anyway, we got down to electric trucks. And then I guess the ones we need to talk about, and these are very straightforward. When we're talking full-size trucks, are of course Toyota. And Toyota doesn't have, that many choices. There's a Tundra, and then there's a Tundra TRD Pro, and there's a Tundra TRD Pro Hybrid. That's it.
Yeah, and also, so they do have several, actually up to 5 different suspension systems, but one of them is lowered, right? TRD Sport is kind of a street truck. We're not talking about that.
Is there an off-road? Is there an off-road?
TRD Off-Road is their kind of, the package that competes.
I forgot about the TRD Off-Road.
Oh, you didn't list that?
No, I said Tundra, TRD Pro, TRD Pro Hybrid. There's TRD Off-Road. You're right.
TRD Off-Road.
And then there's TRD Pro too. So, excuse me, I take it all back.
Okay, well, not as many levels as, for example, Ford has, right? Not as many levels of truck, but TRD Pro the new one is coming on sale right now, probably within a month or so.
So you get better shocks, Fox, right?
Yeah, Fox shocks that are not live still, but they're still tuned for off-road and tuned for kind of a faster run.
But you don't get a front locker or a Torsen.
Right,
it's open.
You get the brake, some brake distribution where they brake the wheel, the tire that's spinning.
They've got a newer version of that. What's it called? It's the
they used to call it A-Track.
A-Track, yeah, the newer version.
Kind of advanced traction system.
Yeah, so you get that, and you get skid plates.
Yeah, and the TRD Pro just kind of takes it a few notches up, right, from the TRD Off-Road.
Are they going to do the desert air intake again?
No.
Because
as far as I know,
is that going to be an option on the Tundra,
especially on the Tundra? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So they tried it on the Tacoma, right, and then it kind of went away.
Yeah.
So either not many people were choosing it, or maybe there are some issues with that. I don't know.
Are they going to do a supercharger? No, I know.
Well, they have 2 turbos now.
Open up that can of worms. No, they're not. They're going to have the turbo.
Will they do a plug-in? And the answer is probably no.
You could supercharge a turbocharged.
Yeah. I think Gale Banks is doing that right now with his diesels.
Volvo doesn't. Actually, they just went away from the super turbo.
Super turbo.
Yeah, they just went away from it. Yeah.
It sounds a little bit complex.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Too complex.
I'm sure that's the vehicle you don't want 10 years from now when something starts overheating.
Should I fix your supercharger or your turbocharger?
Or your electric supercharger?
Which one should I fix? So, and Nissan has kind of an even simpler gradation, right? They have their Pro 4X and then just 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So they need the Warrior.
And they've got lava orange as their new off-road trim.
Which is lava red. or lava
You
orange.
think the manufacturers would do good to like have a Zoom call where they decide what color is off-roady?
You mean together?
Yes, I'll pick a color. Or do you like the fact that it's all different now?
Well,
The craziest one is Jeep with their new hybrid.
the blue,
yeah,
with the blue hooks.
I know.
They went off the deep end.
Because red has been kind of go-to.
Yeah.
But the Nissan went, let's do it orange.
Let's go with lava.
Yeah.
And then of course,
silver.
Ford is going orange as well.
Yeah.
And then Tundra said no tow hooks.
They won't be on that Zoom call. Mike Swears won't be on that one.
They said no. Dude, by the way, I just went to the Grand Cherokee plug-in.
Yes.
I also cannot talk about how it drives.
Okay.
But they had a cutaway chassis of the new Grand Cherokee plug-in.
Yeah.
And I saw the design of the front hook. You know, they have the 2 tow hooks on the Grand Cherokee. And I could see the way they designed it, like they have a bolt. So if you pull on it, let's say you're towing something, the bolt is holding that hook. But if you like in a crash, it just moves into the vehicle. It's a really clever design.
So you're not like skewering
whatever you're hitting. Right.
Yeah.
So it actually kind of recesses into the truck or into the SUV in this case.
You know, that old Jeep Tommy has the hook that goes down, the little pointy end points down instead of up. That seems too silly. Like, it seems like a rope would fall off of it. Some of it goes sideways.
Yes.
So they need to, hey guys, when you're doing that Zoom call, decide, do the hooks go up, sideways, or down, and pick a color.
Yeah, pick a color. Orange, let's stay with orange.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, there you go.
So there you go, the new Rattler.
The new Rattler.
The new Rattler. So we'll be able to kind of test drive this probably in the fall. It's supposed to go on sale in the fall, so hopefully we'll get our hands on this. And
you know, Andre, your video blew up, man. It was like 11, 12,000 views an hour on the Rattler. People, I think the tide is turning. You know, my job here at TFL is, I think, to stick my finger in the air and see which way the wind's blowing. I think right now we're at this crossroads where we might be going from kind of, you know, very, very expensive, out of control, ostentatious vehicles, and now we're going down the other side of that curve, back to like XL, affordable. And I think, you know, like you might be asking yourself, Roman, how do you know? How do I know, Andre?
Backcountry?
You're supposed to say,
Rattler?
Roman, how do you know?
Oh, Roman, how do you know?
The Maverick.
Oh,
yeah.
$20,000 little pickup?
Yeah, it just sold out, dude. Sold out. And we just got the Santa Cruz. Let's wrap it up on that. From Hyundai for a year to test drive, and I've been driving it around for a week. And I actually like the Santa Cruz a lot. I was thinking about that this morning in the shower. Everybody's like all super excited by the Maverick, but I think the Santa Cruz is just as, and I didn't, you might be asking, Andre, Roman, why aren't you thinking that's lifestyle-y while you think that the Rivian?
Roman, you just gave me a 20-minute speech about the Rivian being a lifestyle vehicle. Why isn't Santa Cruz lifestyle-y? I mean, it is lifestyle-y.
It is lifestyle. It's supposed to be a surf truck. But it's really good, you know. I mean, it's really, really good.
Does it have to do with its size?
I think the size, yeah. I think it's bigger than you think it is, which, you know, I like big. So while it's a compact truck, it's bigger. And then I figured out you could lock that tent-out cover, which makes it very useful. I also figured out that it's a perfect height for our dog. And with our friends at WeatherTech lending us their a little like back seat cover, which is great. I put it in the Santa Cruz, and now, you know, Blazy goes and gets all muddy.
But he jumps in by himself.
He like Superman's in the back, and he figured out that he can open the window with his paw.
Stick his head out?
Sticks his head out, and I'm worried he's going to jump out. And then the back, you know, is very useful. It's a good size. Obviously, it's not, you know, pickup truck size in terms of traditional, but full-size trucks, but it's very comfortable. The engine is powerful, not too thirsty. You know, it's like I'm getting like mid-20s.
Okay. It's the turbocharged one.
Yeah, it's a turbo one. Yeah, I'm just really enjoying that truck, and I like the big wheels on it. People think the wheels are too big, the wheels and tires are too big, but I think they're perfect. So we were going to turn that into an Overlander. I think we're just going to keep it as a shop truck.
And you know, I want to do a few things.
Yeah.
We didn't do a proper range test on it, on a similar one.
And we need a proper Maverick comparison.
Yeah, we need a proper Maverick comparison. I want to do some range testing, and maybe some just overland driving.
Look, here's my recommendation.
What?
If you guys are out there, like, you know, jonesing away, because look, the Maverick is much more trucky in its design. But if you're jonesing away for a small truck, don't take the Santa Cruz off your list. Go check it out. I think it's as capable, as comfortable, and in some ways even more comfortable and more technologically certainly advanced than the Ford Maverick. So it fulfills that same general purpose. And I know the Maverick is sold out. Go look at the Santa Cruz. You won't be disappointed.
And I don't know if the Santa Cruz is close to being selling out, but I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think they have capacity. I agree. It rides like a crossover. I mean, it's very comfortable.
Yeah, that's the Achilles heel of the Ford. It's got a bad.
The Maverick is a little bit bouncy, like an F-150 a little bit,
especially
right?
the bigger one.
So
it's it's a compact truck with a heavy duty ride. It's true.
Wow. Well, the hybrid actually was not bad.
No, the hybrid's much better.
It's the all-wheel drive one.
It's the all-wheel drive one. That's pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
But take a look at the Santa Cruz. Certainly worth. I would say a test drive. You can't do that nowadays because.
They're all sold.
Watch our videos. So we'll do a bunch of videos with it. And I think we'll just use it as a shop truck for the year. Because look, with that dual clutch, it's not going to be great off-road.
I mean, we tried to get one with a non-turbo one, right? With an 8-speed, but it wasn't the cards. It is what it is.
Yeah, and guys, check out TFL-studios.com. If you want to keep on top of everything, you can download it as a little web app to your phone.
And now it's been jazzed up.
Look, I just did a TikTok on the GR86.
Oh, right there.
You can see that's me. That's fresh.
It's immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately, right there.
Yeah, we're going to compare that to the Miata.
Okay.
How cool is that?
And of course, our classics channel, Tommy just did a video about the Beetle.
Yes.
So.
And I have to apologize to Frankie. Yeah, I'll apologize to her personally because I rewrote the headline and I put I want a deal or dud, and I put an E at the end. So it wasn't on purpose. It was just me being stupid early in the morning. So I put deal or dude, which for a number of reasons was stupid on my part, but it wasn't on purpose. We fixed it. So we've got our first epic drag race coming up
this weekend.
Yeah, by the time you listen to this, it'll be published.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's coming on the weekend.
Yeah, this publishes on the weekend.
Oh, the audio version of this is on Friday.
Oh, so tomorrow.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah, go to TFL Studios. The three heavy duty diesels head to head on a
side by side
on an airplane landing strip.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
airfield.
And the only damage was we broke the windshield on the Ram because we threw up a rock.
You'll have to see it.
Yeah.
You'll have to see it.
All right. Thank you guys as always. This is Roman
and Andre
saying come back next time. Probably be Nathan.
Yep.
Ciao. All
right. Thanks.